battle lines have been drawn between America first and Israel first.
Carlson, Owens, Kelly, Bannon, it is a time for choosing. You pick the good guys or the bad guys. You pit America or you pit the Third Reich.
He talked about the woke right. And he said, I call it the woke Reich.
They're not MAGA. They're not conservative. In fact, they're more Marxist, Islamist, America-hating, Jew-hating thugs than anything else.
America does not want, in any way, shape, or form, to have a long quagmire in the Middle East to try to get into another Iraq or Libya or Syria or Afghanistan. And so it is a very difficult thread to needle, a high-wire act. And I could tell you one other thing here, Rob, is that, as you know, I represent younger voters, especially those under the age of 30. President Donald Trump did something that I never would have been able to dream, and I was honored to be along for the ride. Win younger voters. The fact President Trump won the youth vote in Michigan, it's unbelievable. It's a 30-point swing. We've never seen anything like it. I will tell you, for younger voters especially, they're telling me on social media, they say, we love President Trump, but we have a little bit of caution about potentially getting into a regime change war in the Middle East.
Mark Levin, the Romans and Persians are gone, Charlie. The Jews are still here. How do you explain that? And Israel's defeated the Iranian military, did it in 2 days. Come back home, Charlie. Reject the kooks, my friend.
People who work for Trump hate Trump, and some of them said it out loud. Here's one of Trump's new best friends back in 2016 explaining how much he hates Donald Trump.
I will not be voting for Donald Trump, and he can thank Roger Stone. And if they piss me off one more time, I'm going to urge millions and millions of you not to vote for him either.
Why were they so mad at Trump? That was a few weeks after Trump announced at that primary debate in South Carolina that the Iraq war was a mistake. Whoa, that was too far. Because any politician who will acknowledge that the Iraq war was a mistake probably won't get on board with the future Iraq war. And that's all they cared about.
Just fucking put a lid on it, fucking Mark Levin. Just have a debate like a man on principle. And why don't you show up at the Turning Point event and debate him? And why is he sounding like a leftist shill with his rhetoric, just trying to dismiss people as like these horrible, bigoted people who you can't even stand next to them on a stage?
Mark Levin. No, Megan. I was calling you a grifter. You've revealed yourself. You also have the mouth of a lowlife. Very limited vocabulary. You should work on that. And it wasn't cool when you smeared Epstein's victims, for which you've been roundly condemned and will forever be remembered and repudiated. Are you having a nervous breakdown?
We're totally focused on that, and President Trump actually implementing the deportations of mass deportations. And all of a sudden this thing breaks out in Persia, in the Middle East, and now the whole country is just focused on that. It's almost like a time diversion to get our attention.
It does feel that way.
Because Bibi gave it up. It didn't have to happen on Thursday night. We were told, well, it was leaks. Oh, there's a bomb and they're going to have it. And, this is something they have to have immediately. He comes on Brett Baier and says, well, it's 12 or 13 months. We've heard the 12 or 13 months for 20 years.
Mark Levin, confessed felon, Bannon, of the fraud room, is truly a dumbass. There is no project, you buffoon. And POTUS reached out to me last evening, and as always, he was gracious and sees this very differently than you. You've been wrong about everything because you're a moron. You stabbed the president in the back over his bombing of Iran's nuclear sites. Your predictions are farcical and clownish. That's why you're no longer in the White House. Utterly irrelevant. Certified felon and fraud.
Holding the fort here in America. Great Mark Levin. I mean, the great Mark Levin. Just a man of courage and truth and an indomitable spirit. And we even went to the same high school. He is more than a friend. He is a guardian of Israel. The most important place where we have to fight is the battle for truth. The battle against the vilifications and the lies that are hurled at our people.
Iran to make a fissile material for an atom bomb. 25 bombs. Time is running out.
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we'd like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. what is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? It's not a question of whether you'd like to see a regime change in Iran, but how to...
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The answer is categorically yes. The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. But a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability.
It's been over a decade since the war in Libya, and the nation is still ruled by warlord factions, unable to build state institutions or hold free elections. The vacuum of power in Libya directly led to the weapons and terror funneled into the Sahel region, which contributed to a string of recent military coups. The instability also caused a migrant crisis that reached all the way into Europe.
All stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror. So that no matter on which side of the aisle you sit, you stand with Israel.
Patriotic conservatives that David Rum, the speechwriter, the guy who coined the term axis of evil, helped launch us on this whole path that we've been on since then, that's wrecked the 21st century. Who were the conservatives who were unpatriotic?
Dave means according to the neoconservatives.
It was all the best ones, the best right-wingers in America. It was Pat Buchanan.
What do you mean we don't cancel people? We canceled Pat Buchanan.
And Ron Paul and Lou Rockwell and Justin Raimondo and Sam Francis and it was all the best guys. None of them were Nazis. None of them were bigots. They just all had one thing in common. They opposed the war party.
1996 policy paper, A Clean Break, a new strategy for securing the realm, authored primarily by Richard Perle for incoming Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, recommended that Israel abandon the Oslo peace process and adopt a more aggressive strategy of preemptive regime change in neighboring states seen as threats. The governments explicitly named or targeted for removal or destabilization were Iraq, primary and most detailed target, removed Saddam Hussein with the stroke of a pen via support for Iraqi opposition. Syria, strike Syrian military targets in Lebanon and inside Syria itself to weaken and potentially topple the Assad regime. Iran, indirectly through rolling back Syria, but also by ending support for its nuclear ambitions and containing its influence. The paper framed these sequential regime changes, starting with Iraq, then Syria, as a way to weaken Palestinian rejectionists and reshape the Middle East in Israel's strategic favor.